Good evening, everyone. My name is Danielle Deteen, and I'm honored to serve as the English Department Chair at Missouri Military Academy. It's a pleasure to welcome you to the 94th Annual Wallace Fry Speech Competition, an evening dedicated to the power of language, the art of persuasion, and the growth of our cadets as writers and speakers. What many may not realize is that nearly every cadet at MMA participates in this process, working closely with their English teachers to craft and refine an argumentative or persuasive speech. From that larger effort, the speeches you will hear tonight represent the very best. I would like to extend a warm welcome to our President, Brigadier General Richard V. Geraci, our distinguished faculty and staff, and our Corps of Cadets, who are here to support their brothers. We are also grateful for the presence of family members and community guests joining us this evening. Most importantly, I would like to recognize and welcome our competitors, as well as our judges, who have the challenging task of selecting winners from such an impressive group of speakers. This competition is rooted in a rich tradition that began with Judge W. Wallace Fry, class of 1903, who established the contest in 1932. The W. Wallace Fry Jr. Cup for Excellence in Speaking is awarded to the cadet whose speech best demonstrates strength in delivery, content, and depth of thought. In 1970, Westminster College in Fulton, Missouri, introduced the Sir Winston Churchill Memorial Award. Later, the Joy McGeorge Middle School Oratory Award was added to honor the wife of MMA's 10th president, Charles A. Tony McGeorge. Over the years, the Wallace Fry competition has continued to grow and adapt. This year, we have introduced a new speech prompt, inviting cadets to reflect on one of our core values. Are great leaders born or made? And why are they essential in today's world? We are also fortunate to have 3 distinguished judges with us this evening, each bringing valuable experience and perspective. Judges, please stand as you are introduced so we may recognize you. Scotty Fisher. Home for Scotty is the Midwest. Born in Missouri and raised in Iowa, Wisconsin, and Illinois, he's lived in Texas since May 1990. Scotty entered semiconductor industry at EMM Semi in November 1977. Almost 20 years later, in September 1997, he started work at Dallas Semiconductor. In between, he worked for Digital Equipment Corporation and MCI System House. Starting as a facilities electrician and general mechanic in 1977, he progressed through fab repair and maintenance, called equipment engineering today, to process engineering, and was ultimately bitten by the software bug in 1982 while at Digital. Scotty's hands-on fab experience always centered on front-end photolithography operations. Married to his wife Beck since August 1974, he is a father of 2, daughter Abby and son Nicholas. He is a docent with the Museum of the American Railroad in Frisco, Texas, and president of the Scottish Society of Dallas. Steve Hagan. Steve Hagan is a lifelong Mexico, Missouri resident and graduate of St. Brendan's, Mexico High School, and Rockhurst College. A longtime local businessman, he spent 42 years as a certified financial planner and has served in leadership roles across numerous community organizations, including the Mexico Chamber of Commerce, Rotary Club, YMCA, and Presser Performing Arts Center. He has been honored with both the Robert Albright Sabre Award from Missouri Military Academy and the Colonel C.R. Stribling Jr. Community Service Award. Steve currently serves as a mediator and arbitrator for the Missouri Bar Association and chairs the Mexico Airport Advisory Board. In his free time, he's a pilot, musician, actor, and pickleball instructor. Glessie Chavez. Glessie Chavez is a former English instructor and department chair at Missouri Military Academy, where she earned the Bravo Zulu Award for her work on the 2025 Wallace Fry Speech Competition. With graduate degrees in education and reading and over a decade of classroom experience, she now brings her love of language and communication to a career in cybersecurity. She is thrilled to return to MMA to support the cadets. Tonight is about more than selecting a winner. It is about sharing ideas, expressing conviction, and building the confidence to stand before an audience and speak with purpose. Each cadet has dedicated significant time to preparing, revising, and practicing, and we are privileged to see their hard work on display. To begin our program, I am pleased to introduce our cadet MC for the evening, Cadet Brexton Castillo. Brexton is a sophomore from Avon, Minnesota, and we are proud to have him guide us through tonight's event. Please join me in welcoming him.
Good evening, and thank you for the warm welcome. Before we get started, I'd like to quickly go over how tonight's competition will run so everyone knows what to expect. We'll begin with our 4 high school speakers, who will each present a speech based on this year's prompt: Are great leaders born or made, and why are they essential in today's world? After that, we'll hear from our 3 middle school speakers, along with the awards they're competing for. Each cadet will have about 4 to 6 minutes to speak, and we'll move right from one speaker to the next. Once all the speeches are finished, our judges will take a few minutes to make their decisions. They'll be scoring each speaker based on delivery, content, and overall impact. After that, we'll announce the awards. Our high school speakers are competing for 2 major awards. First place will receive the W. Wallace Fry Jr. Cup for Excellence in Speaking, which recognizes the cadet with the strongest overall speech in terms of delivery, content, and depth of thought. Second place will receive the Sir Winston Churchill Memorial Award, which is given to the cadet who most effectively speaks in support of a just cause. As we go through the program, we ask that everyone stay respectful and attentive to each speaker. Please hold your applause until the very end, and then we'll give all our speakers a big round of applause. Now, let's meet our high school candidates. Ian Arredondo, a senior from Fair Oaks, Texas, is representing Miss Lackey and Miss Deteen's creative writing and mythology classes. Emilio Venticuatro Perez, a senior from Martinez de la Torre, Mexico, is representing Miss Deteen's English 4 spring semester class. Michael Reboucas, a junior from Barretos, Brazil, is representing Miss Lackey and Miss Deteen's creative writing and mythology classes. And last but not least, the 2025 winner of the Wallace Fry speech competition, back to defend his title, Gunnar Ward. Cadet Ward is a junior from Union, Missouri. Let's give our candidates a round of applause as we get started.
Hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men. And weak men create hard times. I'm sure many of you have heard this quote before, but perhaps failed to truly understand its meaning. This quote is more than just a lesson about history repeating itself. It's about how the circumstances in your life affect who you turn out to be. Strong men weren't born with their strength. They developed it out of the adversity they faced. Much in the same way, a leader is not born with leadership, but instead obtains it out of a necessity to excel or survive. For instance, take the story of Rome. In its beginnings, it was just a small and struggling city. They were constantly surrounded by threats, and their survival depended on their unity, discipline, and courage. Through many years of conflicts and wars, the Romans managed to build one of the biggest and longest empires in human history. But with this growth came complacency. Their discipline weakened, and the strength that they were once defined by was replaced by corruption and a life of luxury. Over time, their empire crumbled, and it soon ceased to exist. Similarly to how you aren't born with strength, you aren't born with leadership skills. Instead, You develop them out of necessity and the challenges you overcome. Humans learn the fastest when their survival or success depend on learning a new skill or knowledge. When people are placed in situations where they must overcome a new challenge, their bodies and minds adapt, allowing them to quickly master skills that would normally take years to develop. This is no secret. Our bodies and minds need a cause before there can be a change. Psychologist Abraham Maslow understood this, and in his famous book called A Hierarchy of Needs, he explains that when safety is challenged, humans are able to quickly adapt to meet survival expectations. For example, think about a starving man. And when I say starving, I don't simply mean hungry. I'm talking about a sort of hunger that can drive a man to do anything to survive. Do you believe that he will simply sit around and wait for somebody to hand him food? The answer is clearly no. He will get up and do whatever it takes to get the food. I believe leadership is developed in a similar manner. It's not developed simply because, but it's instead developed in the moments of hardship. That's where you learn how to guide. The world's greatest leaders weren't born into comfort. They had to struggle, and it was those struggles that allowed them to become who they are. As Winston Churchill once said, difficulties mastered are opportunities won. Leadership is like a muscle that needs to be stimulated to grow. If your body feels that you don't need a muscle for survival, then it will simply not make it. The same thing applies to leadership. If your life doesn't require you to be a leader, then you will never become one. In the same way a starving man will do anything in his power to obtain food, when faced with the necessity to learn a new skill, humans are able to do anything to succeed. Necessity pushes you past your comfort zone. It forces you to innovate and adapt. This is where true growth happens. Leadership is not made in the moments of ease and luxury, but is instead forged by courage, determination, and a willingness to act. Take the case of Ernest Shackleton, an Irish Atlantic explorer who in 1914 led a dangerous expedition to cross Atlantica. Before his group even reached land, their ship became stuck and crushed by ice. Shackleton found himself stranded in bitter cold in what's possibly the harshest environment on planet Earth. Faced with the possibility of certain death, Shackleton took command of the situation. He led his group, rationed food, and conducted dangerous expeditions to find help. Against all odds, every single person in the group survived. Shackleton's leadership didn't come from training or a title. It came purely out of a necessity to survive and protect his men. His story shows us that leadership only appears when the circumstances leave no other choice but to lead. The truth is, you aren't born a leader. You develop it. Every time you fail and every time you struggle, that's where you truly learn how to be a leader. Every important skill you've ever learned came out of the necessity to succeed at something. So don't run from your challenges when life gets hard. Push through, and with enough grit, you will succeed. Because it's in the hardest moments when necessity takes over that you are able to truly learn. Every challenge you surpass is building the foundation of the leader you are meant to become. Because leadership isn't created by comfort, it's forged by necessity. Thank you.
Remember, upon the conduct of each depends the fate of all. Alexander the Great. During my life, there's countless situations where I've been able to see somebody with such an innate talent or ability to perform activities so great, people can achieve it throughout hard work, discipline, or constancy. A lot of times I've been able to witness this quality is because of drugs or cheating. Back in Mexico, in my small hometown, every single person knows each other. The people you grew up with are likely to remain your friends for as long as you live. Honestly, I always thought this would be my case. I couldn't imagine a life where I couldn't go play soccer in the afternoon or go play video games with Eric after school. Eric was my best friend while growing up. I have known him since elementary school. We were raised together, played together, and ate together all the time. I consider him a real brother, although we were not blood related. You would think that because we had the same education and shared the same environment while growing up, we will grow up similar, which is partially true. On December 11, 2023, 1 year before I came finally to MMA, as soon as I arrived at my house after a practice, my mother came up to me with tears in her eyes and told me Eric had just passed away. He took his life while he was just 15 years old. Eric's father passed away shortly after he was born and was never able to lead him how he would have wanted. I have known Eric all my life. I have seen how he used to develop and behave around people. I've seen him lead. If somebody were to ask me at any moment, I would say he was an innate leader, but didn't have nobody to lead him when he needed the most. Nobody that taught him how to be a great man and a role model to follow while he was just growing up. The reason why I'm telling you this is because in the history of humanity, there's countless leaders that were just born for greatness. Most of them built their empires based on knowledge that was passed through generations or power that was inherited to them. One of those exceptions is the former king of Alexandria and Macedonia, commander of the Macedonian army, and one of the most brilliant minds in all aspects of the human world this planet has ever seen, Alexander the Great. Alexander III of Macedon was born in the core of a strong and powerful family, where his father, King Philip II, was active king of Macedon, later passing the torch to Alexander. He succeeded his father as a king at just 20 years old, where he spent most of his lifetime conducting military campaigns throughout Asia and Egypt. Although he was a rightful heir to the throne and could be considered just born for greatness, he increased Macedonia's power under his command. As the pupil of the famous philosopher Aristotle, Alexander was instructed since a young age in the matters of politics, medicine, or science, education most people at that era weren't able to afford, making him a cultured man since his first breath. He had people that led him in the matters of being a great man, as well as role models that almost bordered the excellence. People did not only follow Alexander because of his right of birth, but because of his innate and learned leadership capabilities, art of public speaking, and military wisdom. Although Alexander's lifetime was really short compared to what it is nowadays, he was able to achieve great success, being the most important one, the overthrow of the Persian Empire, defeating his rival Darius III in the process. His victory not only showcased the patience, discipline, and power of his army, and the power that was instilled in him since a young age, but also the loyalty and high esteem his old men had for him. Leaving his military conquest aside, Alexander not only was a military mastermind, his art of public speaking was incredibly advanced for his era. Motivating entire armies and inspiring others to follow him into the battlefield is not as easy as Alexander made it seem like. It was a talent that he had, only a few people possess in the history of the world. Using Alexander as an illustration to showcase my claim about whether leaders are born or made, he is the exact result of what will happen when innate leadership capabilities and learned knowledge from excellence mentorship are combined into just one person. Innate talent without proper leadership and leading will end up losing itself in the path of success. It doesn't matter who you are. Just like it happened to my brother, that I loved him so much, it can happen to any of you in the crowd. Alexander had the talent, but it took Aristotle to shape him. My brother had all the potential in the world to become a great leader, but he didn't have the guidance when he needed the most. And that's my final claim and my answer. Leaders are not only born, and leaders are not only made. They are both. Before finishing, I would like to conclude my speech with something my uncle used to say while he was still alive. Even the sharpest blade still needs somebody to forge it. Thank you all for listening.
What's the point of being a leader? And never learn from your mistakes. What's the point of being a leader when you can't use your past experiences for the success of others? What's the point of becoming a leader if all you think about is your own success, but never about bringing the ones that you lead to the same triumph and achievement? Many people believe that leadership is something that comes naturally, something you're born with, but fail to realize that leadership comes from all the experience that you gain from serving first. When you become a leader, you will still be a student of leadership because you will never stop learning. It's about bringing the courage to bring others to the same level of success as you. Leaders are made, not born, because of what you learn, the experience you gain, and the ability to lead others to success. Leadership starts from learning, from being a follower. You have to start somewhere, like looking up to your leaders and understanding what they do. Our leaders have a great responsibility, and if you want to be a leader, you will have to go through the same experiences as them do. The author of James, as saying in James 3:1, says, "Not many of you should become leaders, teachers, my brothers, for you know that we who teach will be judged with greater strictness." We must remember that being a leader comes with a great responsibility, and you will be judged with greater strictness because you are leading many people. And if they fail, guess whose fault it is? Being a leader will have stricter judgment, as you will set the example by acting as a mentor, making decisions, as well as doing what is right, and people will be following you. Gaining experience in leadership is the next step in becoming a great leader. You must pay close attention to former leaders before you, as what they have experienced may be very helpful for you to learn from. According to Lieutenant General Robert S. Farrell in his article published in the U.S. Army titled, "What Makes a Good Leader?" he explains that good leadership is not only about learning overarching leadership principles, it's about doing the right things, big and small, every single day for your soldiers, Army civilians, and command. In this way, good leadership becomes a habit that is hard to break. Everything that you do as a leader comes from experience. It's like going to the gym. Every repetition counts. And doing so regularly is what will help you to become an amazing leader. Leaders constantly go through adversity, change, and a lot of adaptation. So be prepared, because with all the learning and experience you gain, one of the most important parts of leadership is understanding each one of your followers and leading them to success. Being a leader isn't about your own gain or about what you do for your own selfish desires, but knowing the responsibility of leading others to success. As stated by Alexander S. Haslam in his article titled "Zombie Leadership: Dead Ideas That Still Walk With Us," he explains 4 principles about leadership, being, number 1, leadership is not a solo process, but one that is grounded in relationships and connections between leaders and those they influence. Number 2, leadership is not what leaders are like or do, but what their followers do. For without some form of followership, there can't be no leadership. Number 3, leadership is more about getting people to want to do things than making them do them. And finally, leadership is a group process, ultimately about the activities of collectives and not just individuals. Many people believe that screaming and forcing your followers to do something you want only because of your status is a plausible option. That is not leadership. Instead of trying to listen and understand, those actions will create hate and make them more prone to rebel. So this is why you should be careful and try to understand each one of your followers and why they act the way they do. Leadership is a long path, and you'll never stop learning. You'll never stop getting experience. You will never stop helping others and bringing them to a collective success. True leaders are made, not born, because of continuous learning, challenging experiences, and the ability to lead and guide others to success. Examples of people who went through these challenges and became great leaders were Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who led America during the Great Depression, Nelson Mandela, who stood up for his country against oppression and ethnic separation, and even Jesus Christ, who changed the view by leadership, by serving, and ultimately changed the world. Now you can understand that the point of leadership is to initially learn as a follower and not follow the same mistakes. The point of being a leader is to use your past experiences as an example for others to succeed. And the true point of leadership is for a selfless act to lead others to a collective success. Remember, success is very sweet, but it definitely is sweeter when it's shared with those who you lead. Now answer me. Do you consider yourself a leader because of your position, your status, or your rank? Or you are a leader because you desire to help others, focus on your followers, and walk with them to improve? Thank you.
One year ago, I stood on this stage after winning the same competition. At the time, it felt like standing near the warmth of a fire, recognized, encouraged, and affirmed. But leadership, it has a way of pulling you closer to the flames. Because leadership, it's not a spotlight, it's a furnace. And the longer you stay in it, the more it reveals what you're actually made of. After being a squad leader, a platoon sergeant, now a first sergeant, my answer to tonight's question is this: leaders are made, not born. In a world that feels increasingly volatile, divided, and uncertain, good leadership is not optional. It is essential. People like to believe leaders are born. It's a comfortable idea. If leadership is natural, then accountability is limited. Growth is optional. Failure excusable. But real leadership doesn't work that way. Leadership is forged slowly, painfully, and deliberately through exposure to pressure. Fire doesn't create strength. It reveals it. I learned that lesson early on as a squad leader. At that level, leadership seems small. Just few cadets, a narrow mission, limited authority. But that is where the heat first gets turned on. Your people see how you react when things don't go as planned. They hear how you speak when you're frustrated. They notice whether you step into the fire with them or point from a distance. I saw leaders who avoided the heat, leaders who raised their voices instead of their standards, leaders who use correction as a weapon instead of a tool. Those leaders burned people instead of forging them. Their squads complied when watched and disengaged when ignored. But I also saw leaders who understood this fire differently. Leaders who corrected quietly instead of publicly scorching someone's dignity. Those leaders, they didn't burn bridges. They tempered steel. And that contrast made something clear to me early on. Leadership isn't about how loud you command. It's about how much heat you can withstand without losing your integrity. When I became a platoon sergeant, the fire intensified. Responsibility widened. The consequences grew heavier. There was a moment during my time as a platoon sergeant that stands out to me. I was under pressure, deadlines, expectations, moving parts. And instead of managing the heat, I let it manage me. I shut down input. I pushed too hard, too fast. I cared about the results more than the people. The platoon didn't fall apart overnight, but something was off. Morale dipped. Communication tightened. Initiative faded. The fire wasn't forging us anymore. It was starting to scorch. And then I was corrected. That moment, humbling, not dramatic, but uncomfortable. And that's the point. Growth rarely comes from applause. It comes from standing in the heat long enough. You need to realize you need to change how you're standing. I adjusted. I listened more. I slowed down when it mattered. And the platoon improved. Not because I became perfect, but because I became better. That is when I truly understood this. Being in the fire does not make you a leader. Learning from it does. By the time I became first sergeant, leadership entered a different phase. At that level, leadership isn't a spark. It's a sustained burn. You're no longer reacting to individual flames. You're responsible for the entire environment. Your attitude becomes the climate. Your consistency becomes your credibility. Your blind spots become structural weakness. A first sergeant doesn't just enforce standards. They set the temperature. And that's where leadership becomes essential, not just in a corps of cadets, but in the world beyond these walls. We live in a time where everything feels combustible. Social tension, political division, cultural uncertainty. In environments like this, leadership determines whether pressure produces progress or destruction. History gives us a clear example. George Washington. He stood at the peak of power, surrounded by loyal followers and armed strength. He could have let that ambition ignite into tyranny, but instead, he stepped away. He controlled the fire instead of letting it consume the future. But history is also filled with leaders who mistook that fire for fuel, who let ego burn unchecked, who silenced dissent, who treated authority like gasoline. Entire institutions, communities, and nations collapsed because leaders refused to step back from the flames. And this isn't just history. I've seen smaller fires do real damage. Leaders who disappeared when accountability was required. Leaders who enforced standards selectively. Leaders who used their rank as insulation instead of responsibility. The damage wasn't explosive. It was slow. Trust eroded, motivation smoldered out, potential turned to ash. That is why leadership is essential today. Good leadership stabilizes volatile environments. It channels pressure into purpose. It creates trust where division could take hold. Proper leadership does not eliminate the fire. It controls it. And that brings us back to the question. Leaders are not born fireproof. They are forged through exposure, through correction, mentorship, failure, and reflection. Leadership is made by choosing the harder right over the easier wrong, by staying in the fire long enough to be refined, not ruined. Trial by fire is uncomfortable. It exposes weakness. It humbles ego. But fire does not destroy what is strong. It strengthens it. Leaders are made, not born. And in today's world, more than ever, we cannot afford leaders who avoid the fire, because the future will test us all, and only those forged by the flames will be ready to lead it.
Thank you, gentlemen, for those well-prepared speeches. Let's give another round of applause for our outstanding high school speakers. Now we'll continue with our middle school competitors. These cadets are competing for the Joy McGeorge Middle School Oratory Award. This award honors the wife of MMA's 10th president, Charles A. Tony McGeorge, and is presented to the cadet whose speech stands out for strong delivery, confidence, and overall speaking ability. Just like before, each cadet will speak one right after another. We ask that you continue to be respectful and give each speaker your full attention. Please hold your applause until all the speeches are finished, and then we'll recognize them all together with one big round of applause at the end. Now, let's meet our middle school candidates. Archer Gober, an 8th grade cadet from Columbia, Missouri, is representing Miss Lackey's 8th grade English class. Faraj Malik, a 7th grade cadet from Columbia, Missouri, is representing Miss Lackey's 7th grade English class. Finally, Justin Sattler, an 8th grade cadet from Lakewood, Colorado, is representing Miss Minnie's 8th grade English class. Let's give our candidates a round of applause before we get started.
Better life choices make for a better life. Captain Kevin Bram. While leadership theories and organizational models try to define a great leader, my understanding of leadership came from my grandfather, Chris Eccles. Through my experiences with him, I learned that integrity is not just a slogan, empathy is not weakness, and honesty is crucial. My grandfather demonstrated a leadership style based on keeping his word, treating people with respect, and being present consistently, even when it was difficult. His example shaped my views on success, responsibility, and character. When people talk about success, they often focus on titles, achievements, or recognition. However, growing up, I saw a different kind of success through my grandfather. He was not defined by public attention or status, but by his word. If he promised something, it happened. If he said he would be there, he showed up. Watching him taught me that leadership is more about responsibility than authority. As I grew older, especially while developing discipline and structure in my own life, I recognized how rare this consistency is. Many people talk about values, but fewer truly live by them when it costs something. My grandfather did. Whether helping my family working long hours without complaint or standing by his beliefs, he showed that character is built through quiet, consistent decisions. The strongest lesson my grandfather taught me was simple. Do not say what you do not mean. He believed a person's word was their bond. If he committed to something, there was no backing out because it was inconvenient. As a child, I didn't fully understand its importance, but now I do. There were times when he could have taken the easy way out, canceling plans, shifting blame, or making excuses. Instead, he followed through. Even small promises mattered. If he told me we were going to work on something together, we did. If he said he would help someone, he helped them. From him, I learned that integrity is tested when things are not tested when things are easy. It is tested when keeping your word requires time, effort, or comfort. That lesson shaped how I approach my commitments. I try to be careful about what I promise, because once I say it, I feel responsible for following through. I learned that leadership starts with being accountable to your own words. Another quality my grandfather showed me was empathy. He did not treat people as tools or stepping stones. Instead, he listened, he offered advice, and when asked and recognized that everyone has struggles you may not see. I remember times when someone would approach him feeling frustrated or discouraged. He never dismissed them. Instead, he would sit, listen, and respond calmly. That patience left a lasting impression on me. It showed me that strength does not have to be loud or aggressive. Real strength can be steady and understanding. Because of him, I began to view leadership not as guiding people, but about caring about them. Empathy builds loyalty and trust. When people feel heard, they are more inclined to follow. My grandfather never demanded respect. He earned it through how he treated others. My grandfather also displayed an unwavering work ethic. If he believed that something needed to be done, you did it without complaint. I rarely heard him make excuses. Instead, he would approach challenges with focus and determination. There were days when he was tired, but he still showed up. He did not seek recognition. He simply did what was necessary. That example changed how I think about motivation. It's not about the hype or praise from others. It's about internal discipline and pride in doing things the right way. Watching him taught me that leadership often happens quietly, is built in early mornings through kept promises and tough conversations handled respectfully and with responsibilities carried without resentment. As I reflect on my own development, I see how much of my mindset comes from watching my grandfather. When I consider the kind of man I want to become, I do not picture status or wealth. I picture reliability. I envision someone whose words carry weight. His influence has shaped how I handle commitments, relationships, and challenges. I try to think before I speak. I strive to follow through. I aim to treat others with respect, even when it would be easier not to. Through his example, leadership became personal for me. It is not about controlling others, it is about controlling yourself, your actions, your honesty, and your reactions to difficulty. My grandfather demonstrated that integrity is not conditional. It is a standard you maintain everywhere. In a world where shortcuts and empty promises are common, my grandfather stands in my mind as proof that integrity-driven leadership still matters. He taught me that honesty is crucial, empathy is strength, and commitment is unwavering. The most powerful leadership lessons I learned did not come from a classroom or theory. They came from watching a man constantly live out his values. His life showed me that leadership is built moment by moment, decision by decision, and is formed by keeping your word when it would be easier to break it. It is shaped by caring about people even when there is nothing to gain. It is about showing up. If success is defined by impact, my grandfather is one of the most successful leaders I have ever known. The legacy he leaves is not just what he accomplished, but in the standard he set for me to follow. Better life choices make for a better life. Captain Kevin Bram. Thank you.
Some are born great, some achieve greatness, and some have greatness thrust upon them. William Shakespeare's Twelfth Night. Born leaders possess natural qualities such as emotional intelligence, charisma, and decisiveness. Made leaders develop skills through education, training, mentorships, and learnings from successes and failures. Thrust upon leaders acquire leadership through situationships. But the key thing to understand is that the best leaders often combine all three, harnessing inborn traits, refining them through experience, and rising to the challenge when duty calls. But I also agree with Dwight D. Eisenhower that the supreme quality of leadership is integrity, who himself portrayed this quality. MMA has given me many opportunities to explore my strengths and weaknesses. In my brief experience, I am of the opinion that to be an effective leader, one must have integrity, courage, and great communication skills. At MMA, I strive to acquire these traits. To have integrity means consistently choosing honesty and strong moral principles, even when it is difficult or when it is unobserved. An example of integrity is President Abraham Lincoln. Lincoln was unwaveringly honest. He had a strong moral compass and an unwavering anti-slavery stance. In his debates against Stephen Douglas, Lincoln specifically stated, "I have never tried to conceal my opinion, nor have I tried to deceive other people." Another example of him showing integrity was when he used to manage a grocery store in Springfield, Illinois, before entering into politics. When Lincoln had discovered he had used an incorrect weight when selling tea, he immediately sought out the customer to make up the difference. His resolve to integrity was so strong that it earned him the name of Honest Abe. I believe the second trait to be a good leader is courage. Gandhi is an example of true courage. In the face of all adversities, he never swayed away from his strong conviction of nonviolence. To show such resilience and patience against your adversaries takes an enormous amount of courage. As an example, in the 1920s, he organized the civil disobedience movement to oppose British laws and goods. The whole country followed his lead of passive oppositions without any incident of violence, even after British instigation for violence. That is why he is known as the Mahatma, meaning the great soul. He was an inspiration to the great American leader, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I believe a great leader is charismatic and has a great communication style. He should be able to easily connect with people. All the other qualities will be of no use if the leader is not able to communicate effectively. President Ronald Reagan was a great communicator. His negotiation style with Russia's president, Mikhail Gorbachev, helped him bring down the Berlin Wall to unify Germany and eventually end the Cold War. On the domestic policies issue, President Ronald Reagan boosted the morale of the American people and brought a wave of economic prosperity and enthusiasm during his presidency. In conclusion, Lincoln, Gandhi, and Reagan possessed all these qualities. To be an impactful leader, I believe a mix of these important traits is necessary. My goal at MMA will be to develop integrity, courage, and communication to not only excel as a good cadet leader, but also as a good citizen of my country. Thank you.
We are all human, and we are all unique. Some of us follow, other people lead. So what makes a good leader a leader? Is it a result of their upbringing? Is it a desire to help others? Or are they just born a good leader? Well, I'm here to tell you that nobody is born a leader. The National Library of Medicine stated the question of whether or not outstanding leaders are born or made has been debated for years. There are numerous examples of historical figures that came naturally to leadership, while others developed their leadership skills through tenacity and experience. A great example of this happening in life is the King and Queen of England. The King and Queen get extensive training, such as physical training, lessons in law, and what they can do with their power. The king was born into power, but gains leadership abilities through training and personal work. He didn't get his leadership traits just by being born into the royal family. He trained his entire life to get his position. Another example is the President of the United States. The reason you have to be 35 or older to become president is that you need to build leadership skills through other things like managing a store, being in the military, or doing another job in leadership. There are multiple ways leaders are made, and your upbringing is one of the most important. Your upbringing affects your leadership skills in multiple ways. The first one being your beliefs and biases. How you grew up influences how you speak, act, and even solve problems. To be a leader, you have to have excellent problem-solving skills. This is why we have leadership training at MMA, or West Point Military Academy, or even the Army. We aren't just born with the skills to lead, we build them. Another way your upbringing can affect your leadership skills is the way you were raised. When someone becomes a leader, most of the time, their core values show in their leadership. Sometimes even religious values can show in leadership. Take the Sons of Liberty, for example. They believed that they had God-given rights.
such as life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. These beliefs eventually led to the Sons of Liberty winning the Revolutionary War. This also shows their skills in leadership and strategy. They won the Revolutionary War with low manpower, almost no artillery, but their strategies on the battlefield led them to victory in becoming an organized nation as of July 4th, 1776. This shows that the Sons of Liberty and George Washington were able to inspire their men and put fire into their hearts. This is good leadership. That ability didn't come from nowhere. George Washington also had previous military experience and great achievements in the French and Indian War and other battles. His ability to lead didn't just come out of nowhere. He trained for years in leadership, battle, and problem solving. You may find yourself asking, how do leaders affect society and why do we need them? We need leaders because they are the backbone of our modern society. Leaders keep people in line and set younger people up for success. With training and hard work, anyone can lead. Leadership isn't a job or a position, it's an action that leaders choose every day. Leaders work hard to ensure that their people are thriving and doing well. This is why leaders have to take accountability very seriously. Leaders hold themselves to a standard, and if leadership breaks that standard, underclassmen will follow suit. This is true for all leaders and societies. There are multiple types of world leaders. One example is the President of the United States. The President is elected by the people and can be ousted from office at any time. The President is a democratic leader. The King of England is a monarch, meaning that he is born into a royal family and holds power through being crowned king after the previous monarch passes away or gives up power. The king has about the same power as the president, but there are some minor differences in power. In all that I've said today, let one thing be clear. No one is born a leader. You have to earn it. You have to change yourself before you can change what's around you. Change happens one person at a time. And with the people around me today, I believe that we can change the world. Thank you.
Thank you to all our speakers for their inspiring and thoughtful presentations. We will now take a brief intermission as our judges deliberate and score based on their evaluations. Judges, you can now follow Ms. Deteen to your deliberation room. We will have a 15-minute intermission where we will hear from our MMA choir, accompanied by Mr. Maziarz, Cadet Christopher Song on clarinet, and Cadet Leanne Haddad on piano. Please give a warm welcome to this evening's entertainment.
Sure, you might want to.
Pass it along, people are company.
I'd like to take a moment to thank our musical guests and welcome back our judges, who have been hard at work deliberating and scoring based on the speeches presented. Now it is time for the exciting part of the evening, the awards. Please welcome Ms. Deteen, Dean Clement, President Geraci to the stage for the presentation of the awards.
Thank you, Cadet Castillo. What a wonderful evening it has been. We've truly enjoyed the performances from our cadet choir and performers. Thank you for sharing your talents with us. It has also been a privilege to hear from our outstanding competitors this evening. Before we announce the winners, I would like to extend my sincere thanks to our judges for generously giving their time and thoughtful consideration and recognizing the hard work of our cadets. I would also like to commend all of our candidates. Your dedication, preparation, and courage to stand before an audience and share your ideas are truly admirable. Your speeches have been both thoughtful and impactful, and I'm incredibly proud of the effort each of you has put into this experience. Now for the moment we've all been waiting for. Gentlemen, as your name is called, please join us on stage for a photo. Let's begin by awarding the Joy McGeorge Middle School Oratory Award to our middle school cadet. Please give a round of applause to Cadet Archer Gober. Next, we will recognize our second place winner with the Winston Churchill Memorial Award. Please give a round of congratulatory applause to Cadet Gunnar Ward. Finally, the award we've all been waiting for, the W. Wallace Fry Jr. Cup for Excellence in Speaking. Congratulations to Cadet Michael Reboucas.